Today on Dodson's Corner, we're going to be ranking all of the confirmed upcoming main events, including the big bombshells from Dana White, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being we're not excited at all, 10 being we can't wait, this is the most hyped fight of the summer.
All right, should we do this in chronological order?
Yes, let's do it. We got this weekend already.
Gilbert Burns, not Herbert Burns, versus Miles Morales, the Amazing Spider-Man.
Have you seen the odds for this fight? They're crazy. Morales is just like a massive favorite. I believe Gilbert is plus 300 or something. Or like, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Disrespect is crazy.
I mean,
yeah, Burns might be washed.
Burns is cooked.
But to be fair, he went up against JDM and Sean Brady, two of the goats of
Sean
welterweight.
Brady's overrated after seeing that Bilal fight, which proves that Leon was junk. Sean Brady's mid,
Yeah, that fight really shook up a lot of my...
Yeah, your opinions on welterweight after that? You're like... Oh,
it's also like welterweight is honestly the best division though right now.
It's
with
so
Islam moving up.
Every fight you're like, you don't know who's gonna win it.
Yeah, exactly. Even this fight, like Burns versus Morales, even though the odds are pretty crazy, dude, Burns has a shot. He always has a shot.
Well, and even like Protez versus Gary, and then we have Usman versus Buckley.
True. I'm really looking forward to that fight. Okay, so my rating out of 10 for Burns versus Morales, I'm giving this one a 7.5.
Oh, you're higher on it than me.
I'm excited for it. I really am.
I went 6 out of 10. I think that it's like, this is a fight that you're like, all right, it's a decent like first or second fight on a pay-per-view. A classic Apex main event, a vet versus an up-and-coming guy, classic Apex main event.
I just think that it has potential to be a war because Burns goes to war every single time.
We know it's gonna be competitive. I'm just worried about like how does this fight look in like the 4th or 5th round. We haven't really seen Morales go that deep. Burns is getting older. We also don't know how good of a grappler Morales is. Like, what if Burns just uses jiu-jitsu and grapples for 5 rounds and just kind of sits on him, grabs his back,
Well, I think that's maybe like, we can't tell the future of how the fight's going to go, but that is one of the reasons I'm excited is because we haven't seen Morales in a high-level fight yet. I think this is kind of first big test. His last fight was against Neil Magny. Like, that's not really a test anymore, if we're being honest.
And I think that Burns is a much better, like, gatekeeper and a better gauge than a guy like Neil Magny or like a Jeff Neal, because those guys are pretty one-dimensional. They have power. They're going to strike with you. They can put you out.
Yeah.
But Burns is very well-rounded. Like, we've seen him compete on the feet with JDM, who's the current champ, but he also has...
Oh, that feels so good.
He also has, like, great jiu-jitsu. So, like, it's really exciting to see. It's a good test for Morales. Maybe 6 is a little bit harsh. 6.5. We'll give him a 6.5.
All right, that's fair. Moving on. Next up, the real people's main event. We got Blanchfield versus Macy Barber.
0 to 10. Won't watch this fight night.
Yeah, I literally wrote down 0 to 10.
Yeah, I have 0 to 10.
There is no hype for this. I'm gonna be honest. Look, I might pretend to be a hardcore. Until this was on our sheet, I didn't know it was happening.
All right, our next fight, the 316 headliner, Merab versus O'Malley 2.
This one was tough. It's a rematch. We've seen it before. O'Malley hasn't picked up any more wins after he lost. Merab has won in between against Umar. It's tough because I do think that this fight could go differently, but I also don't want to just delude myself.
Well, and also, like, with a Merab versus O'Malley fight, you're also taking into account, like, the month buildup. There's going to be good presser. There's going to be good social media moments. Both guys are good at marketing themselves, so they're going to add excitement to this fight. Like, right now, we're probably not as excited as we will be the week leading up to 360.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. Like, it's tough because Burns versus Morales is literally this weekend, and then, like, Whitaker de Ridder is in months.
It's
so
4 months away.
Yeah, so I'm trying to gauge it on like how good I think the buildup is going to be, how good I think the fight is going to be, all that stuff. Anyways, for Merab versus O'Malley 2, I'm giving it a 6.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Brutal.
I think it's going to be
harsh.
I think it's going to be the same as last time, like very, very similar. I think O'Malley's going to have some good moments. You're like, oh my goodness, can he do it? And then Merab is just going to spam takedowns over and over and over and over again. And I think Merab is... don't get me wrong, Merab is growing on all of us as a fighter, but at the same time, I think he has potential to still have a very boring fight.
He's certified mold. He just keep growing on.
Yeah, like Bilal put in an absolute worldie of a performance, but honestly, I think he's gonna go back to having stinkers after this.
Dude, he's just never gonna fight for the belt again.
Oh no, definitely.
Like he'd have to go in like another like 10-fight win streak. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I'm a little bit more of an O'Malley fan than you. We're pretty similar on Merab, so I gave it a 7.5 just because it is a title fight. You know, it's gonna be hyped up. I'm gonna be excited. I'm gonna obviously watch it. You know, there's always eyes on O'Malley fights. You know, the casuals.
Hey, you forgot O'Malley. Pena versus what's her name? Harrison.
Oh, that's on this.
Yeah, hey man, people forget.
0 out of 10.
No, that's actually
that's
a little
1 out of 10 because I want to see Kayla Harrison just German suplex Pennington for Pena for 5 rounds.
Yeah,
you know, but I'm gonna go with 7.5. You know, O'Malley, I'm excited to watch him as fight as always, and I think Merab does entertaining stuff inside of the octagon.
Yeah,
so.
like he's gonna clip farm. It's gonna be, you're gonna have some great moments from it. Also, this is the year of the striker now. So I've always said it. This is 2025, year of the striker.
All right.
So Poton's getting the belt back. O'Malley's getting the belt back. We're back.
All right. Next up in St. Louis, Usman versus Buckley.
Yeah. The Hood's not going to forget this fight. I'm honestly so excited for this fight. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
All right.
This is going to be a banger.
I have this fight as a 7. You know, I think
really? Wow.
Usman's knees, man. I saw a clip today of a guy like just falling on his knees. And
I saw that. He's going down the stairs, his knee just bend backwards, and it's like Usman injured. He can't fight.
After an altercation at a baseball game.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I'm not high on Buckley. I'm also not high on Usman. Like these are two guys that I'm low on going into a fight. And I think that I'm unsure what we're going to see. We're probably going to see Usman wrestle, Buckley be stronger, you know, just kind of like linebacker on linebacker, like NFL like training video.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a bit higher on Buckley. I think Buckley's going to have a similar night in the office to what he did to Covington. You know, I think there's going to be a clear age gap, a clear just motivation to want it more. I think Usman's just very past his prime now. You know, we talk about our rethinking of the welterweight division now that we've seen Bilal lose.
We gotta go even further down the chain.
Dude, Usman lost to Leon like fair and square. You know, we're not talking about the lucky Willy Wonka head kick that Leon landed. He just lost in a 5-round fight after that. So if we think about that, and now, you know, we do the math, Leon sucks, Bilal sucks, Usman is like
suckiest, and then like Woodley's trash.
He's like, dude, Usman's like the 11th best welterweight right now. I'm not kidding.
Honestly, like he's borderline top 10 right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's like Gilbert Burns, him, and like Thompson, and
no, give him a Thompson matchup. That's intriguing.
That's MVP might be ahead of him right now.
He's also, do you see him calling for the Islam Makhachev fight?
Usman?
Yeah, he wants a title fight versus Islam Makhachev after he beats Buckley.
Next fight, another one of Dana's favorite matchups, very similar to the last fight, Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree.
Why is it similar? This is another one where I'm really looking forward to.
I'm even more excited. I gave this fight like an 8. Like, I'm excited. I want to see Roundtree again. We haven't seen him in so long. You know, took him time off after his like career-defining performance against Poatan in the loss. But Jamal Hill's stock is at an all-time low right now.
Yeah.
After getting knocked out by Yuri. So I'm excited. I think that we're going to see like competitive striking exchanges, but I think Roundtree's going to come out on top too. So.
I think it's going to be competitive. I think all the striking is going to be very exciting. I think it's going to be, you know, a poor man's Alex Pereira versus Roundtree.
Ooh, I just came up with a conspiracy in my head.
What is it?
I'm predicting it's going to go to the distance. Hill is going to win a robbery 2-1 decision over Roundtree. That it just feels like it'll happen.
It's a 5-round fight.
I just a total robbery 3-2.
Really?
I feel like that's what's going to happen, and like people are just going to love Roundtree even more, hate Hill even more.
Well, I think that we're going to have to see someone improve their cardio. You know, Roundtree needs to lock in and not blitz over and over again in those first rounds, unless he wins all 3 first rounds.
Well, I think with Roundtree against Hill, you're not blitzing the same way you do against Pereira.
Yeah.
You know, because Pereira's very slow and methodical, so you try to blitz to take advantage of that, and it worked. Hill, I don't think you have to push the pace the same way. You know, Yuri wasn't really pushing it. Like, there's a difference between blitzing constantly and staying on the front foot.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Jamal Hill stand on the back foot. You know, he's fine with it. He's like, all right, bro.
I also think that Roundtree will be more confident to be able to put away Jamal Hill. You know, I think there's a big confidence gap in going up against Pereira compared to Jamal Hill. You know, I think Roundtree's going to gain a lot of confidence knowing that he went toe-to-toe with Pereira for 3 rounds pretty much, and Hill got knocked out in the first. And I think he's going to be able to kind of get into Hill's head, especially with Hill losing again to Yuri Prochazka brutally. So I think it's going to be Roundtree by KO in the second round.
Ooh, he's coming up with a full prediction.
And I give this fight an 8.5 out of 10.
Ooh.
I can see it to be a banger.
I'm just kind of realizing we maybe could have gone in reverse chronological order, because the fight's kind of like...
Yeah. Hey, man. It's all
or
good.
they go up.
Yeah, they go
up.
All
right, next fight, I think in chronological order would be Ilia versus Charles.
For 317?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to give this
fight... It's a 10.
Oh, it's a 10 for you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's a 9 for me.
Okay.
Just because of what we could have gotten, you know?
Fair enough, but like... Maybe I am thinking this is Ilia versus Islam. This is not a 10.
No.
No, this is a 9. Yeah. I don't know where... Sometimes I don't think. I was just like, Ilia Topuria fighting 317. Oh my word, give it a 10.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a very good fight, but
it could also be a round 1 knockout for Ilia.
Yeah, it could be, and I just don't think like Charles isn't the best lightweight in the world anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so
he might be number 4.
And we haven't even seen Ilia at lightweight. So it's like, in terms of a lightweight main event for UFC 317, Ilia Topuria is probably one of my favorite fighters, but this is not the best matchup or the highest skilled matchup.
Well, and I think that this fight, too, is a fight that's probably less hype than Ilia versus Holloway was. Like, I think Ilia versus Holloway was very hyped because
they were both
on such a high.
Dude, that fight was different, bro.
The thing is, Charles he's always gonna be the fan favorite, but he's not on a crazy high right now. He's coming off of a win to Michael Chandler, who he got the decision win over, who we saw against Paddy Pimblett look really bad, and then also the loss to Armin.
You do realize that this is literally just setting up Ilia versus Paddy, and it's gonna be the biggest fight in a long time, I think. Yeah. I'm not kidding. Paddy has already 4 million followers on Instagram, and he's not even champ.
And I'm one of them. And even Dodson's Corner on Instagram is a follower of Paddy Pimblett.
It's glazing so hard, man. Okay, so for this fight, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I think that's fair. 10 out of 10 would have been Islam.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, next fight up. Poirier's retirement match versus Max Holloway, and their third encounter, the rubber match at UFC 318.
Yeah, well, I know you're much more excited for this fight than I am. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I gave it an 8.5.
Okay.
Obviously it's Holloway versus Poirier. It's going to be an awesome fight.
It is.
But it just, for some reason, it just like, it doesn't have as much hype as I think I wanted it to have. It's not for a championship. It's for the BMF belt. It's their get her to jail free card to be like, hey, we have a title fight on this because they have that in their contract. You know?
Yeah, it's going to be a great fight. If another Gaethje versus Holloway moment happens, then we're going to be saying, oh, it's a 10 out of 10 fight, one of the best fights of all time. But it's just like, that's so rare, and I think it's more likely that this is an all-out war for 5 rounds, so still a great fight. But in terms of like the build-up, what it means for their careers, it's just so much lower on these lists than honestly like a Hill Roundtree.
Well, and I think that this is like a fight for where if Poirier wins, he goes out on top. It's what the fans want, but it's really bad for the lightweight division. Holloway getting a loss to Poirier here.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It kills 2 careers in lightweight, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's not a lot to gain from it. If this were, I think even Gaethje versus Poirier has less to lose, because Gaethje really doesn't have that title pedigree like Holloway does. And also, like, I think that with this fight, you have a floor of this being like a 7 out of 10 out of, I think that's the floor, but it can be a 10. It's just, this would be a really great co-main event.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
It's just, I think it is the fact that it's headlining a card, like a pay-per-view. That's kind of what bumps it down for me, just because of expectations.
Like, if this was the co-main event of 317 International Fight Week,
they should have done that.
Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Then I'm honestly might be a 10 there.
Like, would you rather have this co-main event, that card, and then move KKF to 318?
Honestly, yeah.
Just push it back, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stack that card, have a headliner of a flyweight. It's not that bad.
Yeah. All right. Next fight, Whitaker versus Reinier de Ridder. The turnaround. He getting out there. The guys who fought last weekend are ready to fight again. Barrio's ready to fight. They get Anasi and Shara. De Ridder's ready to go against Whitaker.
Yeah, I'm excited for this fight. I'm actually like really, really looking forward to this fight. Whitaker is obviously one of my favorite fighters, and he's looking to make a comeback after that brutal loss with new teeth. So there's a lot of questions going to this fight. De Ridder derailing one of the biggest hype trains, but also like the level of competition step up from Bo Nickel and Kevin Holland to Robert Whitaker in a middleweight division is absolutely massive.
Huge. It's huge. It's a big step up for DeRitter, but it doesn't feel like it's an unbalanced fight. Like, it doesn't feel like it's too big of a step up.
No, not at all, because DeRitter has so much experience.
Yeah, and I think it feels closer than like or it feels on the same level of like Asakura versus Pantoja, maybe a little bit of a smaller gap.
Yeah, I'd say definitely smaller.
But, it's one of those guys who I like it how he's come into the UFC and has had a couple fights rather than an Asakura coming in. And
it's
going
perfect
straight for the belt. And
I love that he's getting back in there fast. We always want to see that.
Well, the thing is too with DeRitter is if he loses to Whitaker, it's like, all right, I'm glad that we got this out of the way now because he's getting older. But if he wins, like, let's capitalize on him right now.
Yeah, then if DDP loses, we get the dream matchup: DDP versus RDR, which is just absolutely incredible. But for this fight, I'm actually giving it an 8 out of 10.
I gave it a 7.5.
I think it's going to be great.
You're a big Whitaker guy.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to take DeRitter in this fight.
Yeah.
Just because, Dutch Mafia, But yeah, I'm going to be rooting for my Dutch boy in this fight.
That's fair.
All right. And our last fight, UFC 319's headliner, Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev.
Another banger. This could end the summer in an absolutely incredible way. We could see a war, or we could see another classic Khamzat performance. So either one I'm happy with. I think the buildup is going to be incredible. I think the fight has potential to be one of the fights of the year. I think Dricus is being overlooked in this fight, so 100%. That adds a storyline. Khamzat, the making weight issue, like, that's another storyline. So there's a lot of excitement going in this fight, and as long as they both make it there, I think it's going to be one of the best fights of the year. I am giving this one a 9 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 9.5, and I will say I think the UFC, to be careful, needs to have another middleweight high level fight on this card. Someone who can step in.
Well, that's why I think Imavov versus Barallo should be on this card.
And then imagine they're like having a rock, paper, scissors to see who's to go in and fight Dricus.
Oh, dude, Kaio is just chirping away in Dana's
I
ear.
think you would give it to Kaio.
No, bro, come on. Don't disrespect Imavov.
Maybe it is Imavov.
It has
coming off the win over Izzy.
And the thing is, I feel like Imavov
Barajo's only beat Kennedy.
Yeah, I feel like Imavov could sneakily win as well.
Yeah, Barajo's cooked. He's junk. But it would be Barajo that gets that fight.
It's so dumb.
It would be. But yeah, obviously, like, two guys, Dricus, who has the most insane plot armor of all time, versus Khamzat, who just has unbelievable aura. Two of the mythical fighters. You know, like they got beyond the octagon powers.
Yeah, it's true.
Things you can't teach. You can't teach plot armor. You can't teach aura. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for us today. Make sure you guys go down to the comments. Let us know what upcoming main event are you guys the most excited for. For me, it's obviously Dricus versus Khamzat.
I'll give it to Ilia.
All right.
He's my boy.
Really different. But let us know who you guys are most excited for. While you guys are down there, make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
See ya.